been showing you over the past couple of days the process I use to make sourdough einkorn bread, which is different from the way I learned to make it. I've learned some tweaks to make it easier and also less expensive. I'm Susan Gleaton, a registered dietitian, and when people come to me, I look for the root cause of how they got in this predicament in the first place, so that as they get better, then all the symptoms don't just come right back to haunt them again. So if you want to see more of this content, please like and subscribe so that you'll see more in the future. So as you might recall, a few days ago, I said that I was going to put what I had done so far in the fridge and leave it there until I had time to bake the bread. Well, today is the day. So this starter that I got up to this size here has actually been in the fridge for 2 days, but I did feed it yesterday because I just didn't want it to feel all forlorn and forgotten. I could have fed it more often during that time period, but I didn't because I just wanted you to see what it would look like with just feeding it once. So I'm going to take off this plastic wrap that I oiled, because later on in the process we just might need that oil on there in case it just climbs out of the bowl there and wants to stick to the plastic. So it's gotten rather bubbly, so that's good. When it's all bubbly, that means it's happy. That means it still has some food to eat. So, and that's one reason I fed it during the 2-day interim, what was in the fridge, because if it ran out of food, then, which was the einkorn flour was its food, then there wouldn't be any more bubbles and start getting kind of flat and sad, and we would have to kind of baby it along, feeding it to get it all happy again. So I also was starting to get it a little thicker than pancake consistency. So from here on out, we're going to be adding only einkorn flour. As you may recall, when I was feeding the starter, I used rye because it's low in gluten and less expensive than einkorn, but that is optional. You can use straight einkorn if you want. So at this point, because today's the day I'm going to bake the bread, so I'm going to add some more water, but that water is going to have salt in it. And after you add the salt, then you're pretty committed. You can't just add more flour tomorrow or anything like that. So we're pretty committed to like going ahead and baking the bread after we add the salt. So this is the jar that I fed the starter in. It had been 2 whole days, so this has been stored in the fridge. I don't know if you have to do that, but I did. There's a couple of other things that you can add besides salt, but for the size loaf that I'm going to make, which is going to be the Dutch oven size loaf, put in about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of unrefined sea salt. And then that's really all you have to put in. I will put in a few optional things today so that you'll know how to do that and why. But if you think that your bread may not get eaten before it starts to mold, then you might want to add some vitamin C powder. So if I put in vitamin C, I usually go with the Nutribiotic brand, sodium ascorbate. I do it because ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, is often grown on corn, which is usually genetically modified, and I just didn't want that in my diet. But this brand, the Nutribiotic, said that there is no corn in theirs or something like that, and also it's non-GMO corn. I don't know. I don't remember, but I do know because I have a friend who has a daughter very allergic to corn, and if she gets any little smidgen of corn, we can see it on her face, and she's totally fine with this type of vitamin C powder. So I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of vitamin C powder, and that is because it's an antioxidant, and so it will prevent the bread from spoiling quite as fast. An alternative to vitamin C that you could use if you wanted, another very potent antioxidant, though not used in baking quite so much, would be turmeric. So turmeric would work as well. And then this will be my first time to do collagen, but my friend Shelly, who much of this method that I make vitamin C, that I make einkorn bread the way I make it, is due to Shelly's influence, just kind of things that she's figured out and shared with me. And she did say last time I saw her that putting some collagen in there, she felt it added to the structure. So I just put in 2 scoops of collagen powder in there, and like I said, first time, there's a little bit of water in there. I don't think I'm gonna add any more water because I want all of these ingredients to go in the sourdough bread. So I don't want to like not use all the water, but I also don't want to have to add so much flour that I have more than 1 loaf. And so put all that in there, and then I'm going to stir that in, and then we'll start adding more einkorn flour. And so, and that is freshly ground flour. That's why it's in a plastic bag, but you don't have to use freshly ground. You can, until you are ready to invest into a grinder, you can use just regular flour. Okay, so I'm back to pancake batter consistency here. Now notice I'm not measuring anything, so that's part of the beauty of this, but this is like a standard mixed, bowl size that you can get, kind of a serving bowl that you can get just about anywhere. So the amounts that I use here and that you can duplicate just kind of go by how much the bowl ends up being full. So you'll see that. So I'm putting in quite a bit of einkorn, and I will be mixing it in a lot because this is going to get really, really thick, as in like bread consistency. So you will see how thick it is. Now, the biggest difference in making einkorn bread and wheat bread, so all of this process that I've done so far, you could do with any type of grain, such as wheat, spelt, kamut, even straight rye if you wanted. But I've never made sourdough wheat bread. But from what I've learned from others is that you don't have to get it as dry as you do the sourdough einkorn. So, so I will be making this like very, very stiff. So the einkorn tends to like absorb more moisture. So in the time that it's rising, which is going to be quite a while, it's going to absorb quite a bit of moisture. And if I don't make it just super, super stiff, then it will be extremely sticky and hard to deal with for the rest of the steps. Now, actually, I think I have, because of waiting a couple of days, I have made this like more flour in this bowl than I usually do. So what that means is that when I form the loaf, it's probably going to be more than will fit into my Dutch oven. And so the extra, I will see how much that is, and then just make like some smaller loaves out of it, or maybe like a pizza crust kind of thing, not like a whole pizza, but a smaller pizza or something. It won't be wasted. I'll figure out how much too much it is, show you about how much I want going in the bowl in the to make the final loaf. and then just decide what to do with the rest. So one reason I like making bread this way is not measuring, because it's just too fussy to me to have to measure and everything. So I'd rather even make a mistake and make a bigger loaf, or too much dough and have extra dough to do something else with, than to be fussing with measurements and stuff like that. Okay, so you can probably see about how much. Get that stirred in a little bit better. All right, so, okay, this bowl is about 2/3 full, and that's when if it was, if I'd added a little less water at the beginning. Usually I'm adding not enough water, and I'm adding more water at this point, but I think sticking it in the fridge for a couple of days and feeding it that one extra time kind of got it a little more watery than usual at this point. So, but this amount, just about 2/3 full, is how full I would want it when it's finished. And so, by the way, this step in the process and one more step are the only what I call hard ones, because like as you can see, I'm really having to work to get this mixed in. Yeah, there's probably a kitchen appliance that would do it, but I just always did it this way. And it's a little messier and a little more time consuming than all the other steps that we've done previously. So this one and one more are a little messier, but once you've done that second one, which we'll be doing later today, once that one's done, then you can rest assured that it's really, really easy after these two steps are done. So often the way it's timed out is that the feeding of the sourdough starter, even in the bowl, would have happened during the course of a day. Like if you were home or in and out most of a day, that would have happened during the course of a day. And then at night, you would be doing what I'm doing right here. And then in the morning, you would be doing the next messy step. Okay, so it still needs more. This would be perfectly fine if this was wheat, because it's not sticking to the bowl anymore very much, but this is not fine for einkorn. I need even more flour. So it's way more flour than you would think that it could possibly take. But if I didn't add enough flour, I'm still going to get a loaf of bread. It's just that the next step will be really messy because it's going to be so sticky. And so you do that once or twice, and then you just learn to just put as much flour into it as you can possibly get. So eventually, and I think I'm at that point, you have to go to your hands. Like you simply cannot stir it with a spatula anymore. So this is very, very stiff. Only for einkorn, not for wheat. All right, so done with that, and I may add in more flour, so I'm going to keep one hand clean in case I need more flour. And so now I'm just using my hands. This is actually easier than the spatula, but until you get it to a point where it doesn't stick to your hand, you don't really want to be using your hands. And I'm adding more flour. Remember, this loaf is a little bigger than normal. Not much, just a little bit bigger. So it's not sticking to my hands at all. It is not sticking to the bottom of the bowl. It is mostly evenly in. And so I'm actually going to add a little bit more einkorn. So the bottom of the bowl, well, the bottom of the bowl has maybe 1/8 of a cup of flour in there. It might be fine, but just for good measure, I am actually adding 1 more spoonful. This will probably be the last spoonful. Let's see how much gets worked in. So, as I said, usually in the morning, you're feeding your starter in the bowl. You'll come in a couple of times during the day, give it some more flour, get it stiffer and stiffer. This is your ideal day. Doesn't usually happen to me that way. And then towards the evening, you do this step right here. Okay, I think it's done. Let me see how much flour I got. About the same amount of flour in the bottom. I don't think I can incorporate any more flour. I am done. So you do this in the evening, if it's your ideal day, and you cover it with the piece of plastic wrap with oil on it. And this is where, when it's rising, it just makes it so happy that it is like over the bowl. Not usually, I mean, not like yeast bread can do, but it can touch the top, and that's great. It means a lot of air got incorporated. So at this point, it is going to sit for a while. Because I want to bake today, later today or tonight, because I need bread in the morning, then I'm going to put it in a sunny windowsill. I might even put it in my oven on bread proof. So because the warmer it is, the faster it will ferment. So I wanted this to rise very slowly so that the gluten was broken down even more. Stick it in the fridge, let it rise slowly, and then do the next step, which I will show you in the next video.